Previously on Redbeard's Garage. Alright, so we got this back section cut to length, so it's the perfect length we need to adapt it to our chassis. And we're going to be using a Go Power Sports 440 or V-twin engine plate. We're going to set that down just like that and do some pretty good thick beads down the side. And how we're going to align the chain is the chain's a little bit too much to the driver's side. We're going to make a spacer that pushes the sprocket exactly where we need it. We can line it up and build off, and we'll show you that on the lathe here in a little bit. So then we'll be able to finally put our diff on. It'll bolt right to this bolt pattern, and this whole setup can go on the GoPro. So the reason that I put these braces in here is because I'm going to have to cut this out. So I'm going to cut almost against this. I'm going to leave a little bit of a lip. I'm going to cap off this tube, and because when I bring that center section that holds the diff and stuff, the engine plate is hitting this, so I had to get rid of this. Alright, so we got that clamped up there, just sitting on a piece of flat stock that I clamped to the chassis to keep the floor level. So unfortunately, with this back section, this pre-built little bed area, it's too short. You can see where my CVs are laying. My CVs are pretty much in line. They're a little bit past this, you can see there. So that means this needs to come back 8 inches. The center of these notches need to come back 8 inches to make the CV in line. It's okay if your CV's a little, turned in, but that's like extreme. That means I need to lengthen this little engine cradle 8 inches, and it should be perfect. But the only problem is then this is going to be 8 inches back here. So I'm going to have to cut this off and lengthen it 8 inches, and that's really the only way to make it look good. Basically I can cut right in here on each side, sleeve it inside, and lengthen that. Then I'll just cut and get rid of these completely and wait till I mount the engine, and then I can replace some braces right through there. And then I'll have to rebuild this little area, which I'm rebuilding the roll cage anyway, so that's not a big deal. But that is unfortunate. So we're ready to put this jack shaft in. It just slides down like that. The bolts go in from the outside. Look, our engine will be a little higher, but that's fine. I don't care because we had to cut all this out. This was welded in crooked from factory. You see where it lands in this bin? Where it lands in that? So we squared, not this, but this corner, because this was off on the original buggy. So this is not fully welded, but close. And we're going to we tied in these pieces of flat stock, round them over so it caps off that tubing. Then we got this brace. We're also going to brace this to here. And yeah, and then we'll do some gussets right here because this is all thin. They use thick wad on the main chassis, but all their little crock like this is real thin.
Impact pieces. Anything that impacts is pretty thick.
Same thing we do on our buggies. We do the same exact thing.
Even these 8-inch extensions, this is thick wall. So what I did was chucked it up in the lathe and turned it down. It's actually up in the tube almost an inch and a half. And it's
beauty of having a lathe.
Yes, beauty of having a lathe. You can make all these parts. Even here, where we tied the back in, this is actually solid, and I turned it down to slide down in here, and then weld her up.
Yes, you see. And we're going to tie in this with some rolled pieces because it won't look so narrow and dinky on the rear. And I'm going to add a little toe and hitch. You know. Now we have a half-built removable engine section. So basically, if we ever want to take this cart apart, once we build this section over top of the engine, this section will unbolt off. The engine will come out this way, and this engine section will pull out. Diff and everything can come out. We can actually get the diff out, I think, without removing this, but it's just for like whatever, you know.
You never know.
You never know until you know, then you know it. And unless you knew it, you won't ever know that you knew it. So now we took this, and this was a slug of steel that Max Torque Clutch gave us when we was up there. And we bored it out and put two Go Power Sports bushings that was originally for these trailing arms. And that's what these are too. We made these out of those Max Torque slugs of steel that they throw away. So basically, if you live near Max Torque Clutch, they'll give you these slugs of steel for free, because they can't get rid of them fast enough. They're leftover pieces that's unmachinable for what they're doing. But anyways, this will weld in right here, and I'll bring one piece of square tubing that'll be notched, and it'll meet this set right in there. So that'll keep vibrations down a ton, because these are all rubber bushings inside of here. If they ever wear out, we can push them out and make us some polyurethane that'll, you know, not have as much vibration, but they won't wear as fast as like these rubber ones would. So it'll be removable. What of it? Pretty cool.
Creative.
And then we got our Polaris pulley all fitted to her new engine. And speaking of her, look at her.
No, we go.
Oh yeah! Woo! Back kick! Woo! But this will be pretty sweet. There's 2 bushings inside of here. They touch each other in the center because we didn't have a long one. So we pressed 2 bushings inside of here and gave us a rubber insulation. And we don't have to worry about if there's a little bit of movement in the engine because it's belt driven. That's the best thing. It's only chain from the diff, and that's solid.
A few moments later.
So we got the swing arm all welded up. You can see the 3 mounts. Should be pretty strong. If, you know, I said earlier, if we have any problems, we can upgrade to better bushings inside there. But I don't see us having a problem, especially since we're using a CVT belt. So now, have some small tabs. All right, so it's all bolted up in there. Got them rear tabs on. I'm gonna have to give this old Tapperoonie Dooney. So now, if I don't know what we would need this for, but the biggest thing is the engine rubber mounts to isolate the vibrations. So we can lift this up. Those are pretty tight, so it's twisting the bushing. But we can lift this up to, you know, pull the diff, whatever we need to do. Make sure to check out the links in the video description where you can find everything used on this. We got Go Power Sports engine plates, those trailing arms. I'm trying to get with Go Power Sports, see if they can restock those. I've had them for several years, but they're super handy, especially if you don't know how to fabricate these. You can add some heim joints to them or even leave the factory bushings. But ton of parts down in the links in the video description, so check those out. Those do help us out. Make sure to check out the links to our merch. This is, I don't know, Goosey?
Gravy bones.
Oh! Look at the big boy on the little bike. So make sure to check out those links. Everything helps us out when you use those links. So check them out. Hit me up. Buy some stuff. You know what we're doing. So next video will be hooking the CVs up, and we'll show you how we adapted a Polaris pulley to the engine, and we have decided to switch to a 625. Sorry, we always change our minds. That was what was the only reason we was going to do a 440 on this was for the race, but I've had this 625 sitting aside for this, so we're going to go ahead and slap it on. So let us know what you think about this whole engine setup. I think it looks awesome. A lot of bracing left to do to make sure everything's super strong. Next episode also will be starting our roll cage, taking this completely off and building a new one, finally make this thing look sick. We love you guys, and we thank you so much for supporting us all these years, and you know, we'll see you on the next 300,000. God bless.